a lot of things we look forward to every couple of months, and one of those things being the latest installment of the Iowa History Journal. And Michael Swanger, the owner and publisher of the Iowa History Journal, joining us right now. Hello, Michael. How are you today?
I'm well, thanks. Good to see you, Lou.
Well, I want to talk about what is chalked inside of this magazine, because this, honestly, Michael, is probably one of the best magazines you have put out in a long, long time. All of them are great, but this one has so much history. Talk about the cover real quick.
Thank you, Lou. I'll try to get over these quickly for you. But in short, on the cover, we're looking at a picture of Major General John B. Anderson, who was a Parkersburg farm boy who went to West Point Academy and became one of the greatest military leaders that this state has ever produced. His story reads like a 20th century history of the U.S. military. His grandson, Michael M. Van Ness, wrote a book about his grandfather, and has written the first of our two-part series about his grandfather. And in short, Major General Anderson, he chased Pancho Villa in Mexico. He led a battalion in World War I. He served our State Department in the 1929 Geneva Convention, and he commanded the largest combat corps in World War II. And he did it alongside his West Point peers like Dwight Eisenhower and Omar Bradley. So it's an amazing story, and we were very proud to publish it.
Yeah, another great article that inside of there is somebody that, if you followed Iowa football for any length of time, you remember the name Reggie Roby, and you have an incredible story about Reggie.
Thank you. Yeah, Don Doxey from the Quad City Times penned that for us. He's covered the Hawks for 40-some years. Reggie Roby, as you may recall, was the star player of those early teams that Hayden Fry built when he took over the program, and Reggie played for the Hawks from 1979 to 82. And not only was he really a star of the team, he was a star punter in the game. He changed the course of punting. Went to a two-step rhythm instead of three-step, and he pinned opponents deep in their territory, and then went on to become an NFL All-Pro, playing for 15 years. So that was another story that we were really happy to get to. It's been long overdue.
Yeah, great stuff inside the magazine, which is available now at Fairway stores, so you know that. But one thing I do have to tell you, Michael, what really captured my attention was your article. The first one that I read in the magazine, because people realize that tomorrow is 9/11, and you have a story in here that talks about your experience with 9/11 that maybe people have not realized before, because you were involved with a newspaper back when this all unfolded. I remember I was on the air live when this happened, when 9/11 happened 20 years ago, and I remember how that unfolded, but the way it unfolded for you was amazing.
Well, Lou, I'll real quickly, we all have our unique memories of that day. Obviously, those of us who are old enough to remember it will never forget it. For me, it also took on a great professional responsibility. Long story short, I was working at the Newton Daily News as its news editor. One of my daily tasks was to monitor the AP Newswire. That's when I saw the first slug line come across the AP Newswire, saying that plane crashed into the World Trade Center, according to TV reports. About 15 minutes later, another slug line came through with urgency, reporting about the second plane. We rolled the TV into the newsroom, and like millions of Americans, we watched in horror what was taking place before our eyes. But unlike most people, I couldn't stand and watch TV. So I grabbed my notebook and camera, headed downtown to Newton, and started getting kind of a man on the street story, getting quotes from locals and officials about what it meant to them. Went home real quick to take a quick lunch break, knowing there was going to be a long day, and tuned into the TV, and I'm pretty sure it was WOI TV, where I heard a woman named Rhonda McCleary from Newton tell one of the reporters, one of the anchors on air, that her stepfather, Jim Clear from Newton, was at the Marriott Hotel in the shadow of the Twin Towers. A couple hours later, I found myself in Jim Clear's living room, sitting with his wife, Jean, and Rhonda and their family, watching them watch live coverage from New York City of what was unfolding, hoping to catch a glimpse of Jim. I didn't include this in my column, but one of the flashbulb moments of that day for me, Lou, was watching them watch TV, and they thought that they saw him. And wow. Just to see the emotion and the hope that they had that he was alive was incredible. Sadly, it would not become true. They played for me the messages that Jim left Jean that morning, including the last one when the second plane hit the tower. He told her that he was okay, and that he would go where they told him to go. And sadly, she never heard back from him again. And even his body was never recovered either.
Wow.
What I didn't know at the time, Lou, and obviously you can appreciate the sensitivity, the gravity of the situation, is that, you know, you have a job to do as a reporter. So I'm there in that capacity, but it was really my upbringing, my rearing that kicked in terms of just my humanity and being sensitive to what was taking place, because it was not only the story that day, which later on there was a vigil held by local religious, by the churches, I should say, that night at the Maytag Bowl. There was about 500 people there for a vigil. I covered that as well. But then there were all the subsequent stories of covering Jim and his family. And I'm forever humbled and grateful that they trusted me to tell their story, because they did not talk to any of the Des Moines media, any of the TV stations or the newspaper. They just trusted me in the Newton Daily News to tell their story. And it was a story that kept unfolding for weeks and weeks and months, from the investigation of looking for his body up through his funeral and on. And it was just one of those stories that changed my life.
Get a hold of the latest edition, the September-October edition of the Iowa History Journal, available at stores all over the place and online. Website is, Michael?
IowaHistoryJournal.com.
Just that simple. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for a great publication.
Thank you, Lou. Appreciate it.